everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. And to all the Stargate fans out there, we would love to hear from you and chat with you on our show. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to us via any of our social media platforms or email.
Today, I thought it would be really fun to talk about a two-parter that I know you saw recently and I just saw recently, and our special guest, Martin, has also seen recently. And that is the mid-season two-parter in Atlantis season 5. Which begins with First Contact, and the second part of it is called The Lost Tribe. So we can talk about that and maybe share some of our opinions, thoughts. Before we get into that, inviting anyone who's interested in sharing artwork, fandom merchandise, or anything that you would like to personally share about your experience with Stargate and your personal fandom experience, then contact us. You can get in touch with us with our socials, or even just comment below, and we'd be happy to feature you. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone like particularly wants to start. I know, Emily, you've seen this episode a little bit earlier. So I don't know if maybe if we should kind of like briefly recap. Like maybe I'll just say kind of first a little bit what happened. And I'm kind of following the points that you sent a little bit. Is that one of the major things? Daniel Jackson arrives in Atlantis to work on some ancient technology with McKay. They discover this ancient like hidden lab, and of course once they discover the lab, it triggers something and they are kidnapped, using mysterious armor. They don't know who they're kidnapped by, and at the same time the Atlantis team is kind of working with Todd, and because this whole thing happens with them getting kidnapped and they have to do this device, then something goes wrong with their relationship with Todd, and then Todd gets mad at them. So of course by the end of the first part of the two-parter, you have McKay and Daniel Jackson kidnapped in an unknown location, and the Wraith are angry, and this alliance with Todd is sort of falling apart. And yeah, maybe I won't get into too much more because we should talk about it, and especially since there's some surprises in the second episode. But just as a little bit of a background, and maybe we can all kind of share a little bit just our overall thoughts of how we felt when we saw Daniel coming back. Because I think both of you mentioned this was his first time in Atlantis, the show, like not Atlantis, but in appearing in an episode of Atlantis, correct?
I don't know, actually.
I think so.
So maybe one of you wants to start and say, like, what did you think when you saw Daniel walk in the door?
Martin, did you want to start?
Oh yeah, you're the guest. You should start.
I'm not sure what to start with here, but I mean, it's always good to see the SG1 cast. And if I'm remembering correctly, he was the only one not appearing in Atlantis, the show, at this point. So
true.
Right, because I mean, Carter took over Atlantis, so she was obviously there. Teal'c was there, and Jack was there in the episode with him and Woozy getting trapped and all that. So I think he was the last one. So I'm glad they fit him in the last season to have that nice little arc complete. So yeah. It was good.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised to see him. I didn't expect him to be in the episode, but I was like happy about it because I really like the dynamic between him and McKay. And I think it was yeah, it was just kind of, I think kind of needed. Like I feel like that vibe was kind of needed in the show. And like it kind of reminds me of similar dynamics, even though it was in a different way, of like whenever Daniel would kind of bicker with Vala, or whenever McKay would be talking with Sam. And one thing that I think is kind of interesting, that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like McKay and Daniel Jackson didn't normally communicate in this way on previous like encounters. Like a lot of times McKay kind of would bicker back and forth, or be like trying to show like how great he is to Carter. And in this episode, he seems kind of like his ego's threatened by Daniel Jackson, where he never showed that side previously, from what I can remember. Like their interactions weren't, from what I can remember, wasn't like that much. Like they just kind of communicated normally. And like with this, it was almost like a whole vibe. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, no, I completely, I agree, because I think actually him and Dr. Jackson didn't really work together much, did they? Because I think in a couple of the other episodes, Daniel was with Vala when Carter was kind of working with McKay on like the science stuff, and Daniel would usually be off doing the more anthropological work. And I think this is maybe kind of the first time that you see that this sort of him and McKay have to actually work together, because it's kind of combining this ancient cultures with technology in this particular way. And I mean, I agree. I was super excited when I saw Daniel. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I know I've seen this at some point a long time ago, but I forgot that Daniel had also come back. And I thought the dynamic was really fresh for that reason, because it was like somehow similar to like so much Stargate like banter between people, but at the same time you didn't really like you said, you didn't really see much of McKay and Dr. Jackson working together in this way. So I actually really like their dynamic.
It kind of also felt like that we missed part of their relationship, because obviously they had this sort of, I'm not sure I want to say friendly rivalry at the beginning, but they had this rivalry, and we haven't seen that before, right? So it seems like that there's some history between them that happened off screen, behind the scenes, that we don't know about. So that kind of felt nice, that there's a life for SG1 beyond what we see.
Have a McKay Jackson spinoff.
No, totally.
Oh no.
I would totally love to see that.
Well, to me, what would be so cool about that, I think, is that it would be something that you could really do into the ancients, like in investigating ancient culture, and it could really kind of go deep into, like, to me, like being a little bit of a nerd of like ancient cultures. I mean, you could really go into their origin while at the same time discovering that technology. So actually, I would be down for that. And so I mean, so I guess that was like the big surprise. Like, okay, there were many, I guess, reveal moments in this in this two-parter, but I think maybe the biggest one is at the beginning and then at the ending, which I guess we'll get into. But the first big reveal was that Daniel was participating. But I guess otherwise, I mean, what are some of your thoughts about the overall like episode in terms
the first part, or the two part?
I mean, let's start with the first part, but if you want, you can really talk about it overall, because I mean, to me, I guess it's hard to remember where it ended.
It ended with the observation tower blowing up.
That's true. Right. You're right. There was the explosion. So
was that in the second part or the first part though?
First part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the explosion was right at the end.
That was the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Shepard and Selenka, I guess, they didn't get out. It exploded. And then
right.
Oh yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let stay with that one for a second, because because this is the first time I've seen it. So this is my first watch through Atlantis. So I've never seen this arc before. And I was really confused about the gate overloading and exploding, because I missed the part when McKay tried to tell the kidnappers what is wrong, because he got shot right away. So I didn't catch what he was saying. It happened so
okay.
fast. So when it went back to Atlantis and the gate doing something weird, I didn't connect it with what was happening with the other storyline with the kidnapping and McKay and the ancients. So I was really confused for a while. So I thought there's something else going on. They're throwing another plot point in there now, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's me. I don't know if it was clear, if I just missed it, if it was so quick that it was supposed to be missed. So I'm not sure about that.
If I think I noticed it. I think so. Maybe I mean,
so just me.
Maybe. Maybe.
Oh, that's fine.
I mean, I also thought it was kind of genius. Like, I can't remember fully like timeline if I'm talking about first or second part. I'll have to look at the notes so I don't confuse the two. But I really liked actually how like there's kind of like the two things going on at once, where it's like, you know, you have all of that happening, right, with the gate and all of that frantic nature, it's that happening, and then you have the mission that some of the other members are on with Todd, right? So and initially they're all working together, and I mean, I kind of feel like from the start of that, though, it's like you get a vibe like, you know, something's clearly going to happen, like even before all shit goes down with everything else. But I actually did like how, like, I mean, it's super frustrating actually how there's that miscommunication there where Todd thinks like they've turned on him basically because of all of that happening. But I thought it was I don't know, I kind of liked how they managed to put those two things together and make it, I mean, that's something that could totally happen, right? Like in real life.
Well, at the same time though, with the whole Todd subplot, it seemed to me that he was planning on doing that anyway, because he was prepared with that stun weapon to stun the entire ship.
True.
And he was prepared, his troops were prepared to beam over at at short notice and all this stuff. So it seemed like that was in the works anyway, that betrayal.
Yeah, I guess
it happened like, right then and there or the next mission.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
he was prepared to pull the trigger on the alliance and
and also, I mean, I don't know. I had this feeling leading up to this, especially since they start to feature Todd, and you have all the like the whole first season. There's so much talking about Michael's lab and this. I feel like, and I don't know. I mean, again, I haven't seen the end of it, but it does feel like it was leading into something that would cause another battle with Wraith and possibly Michael, and
Michael has to come back. And
it almost seemed a little bit too good to be true that they had this alliance with Todd, like usually, especially leading into the end, that this could kind of fall apart. So I to me, that aspect of it wasn't so surprising. It was interesting that they were able to that Todd was able to, I guess, take advantage of that particular timing to kind of use it as a scapegoat, or maybe it was just he was kind of planning it but was waiting to see if maybe he thought that they would betray him at some point, and that was kind of evidence of it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get the vibe that both sides are always a little bit on edge about each other, and both sides have something planned in case something doesn't go as planned, because it's like, you know, it's like even though they're working together, they still see each other as enemies, right? And so it makes sense to me that they would have something in place, like if someone suddenly turns on them and that level of trust is never fully there. But I do feel like the vibe of Todd has kind of changed up to this point, because it's like I feel like they kind of initially made him out to be like the Wraith that could be trusted, and then I felt like he started to feel more and more eerie up to this point, where then you start to feel like you can't trust him, and I feel like something seems like it switched, like in his thinking towards them. But I don't know if that's just me thinking that, or if it's like something that was intentional, or I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I don't know about the intentions of the writers. But to me, the way I've been looking at it is that when they met Todd, when, you know, initially that first part of the story with him, he was, you know, captured for a long time and tortured. So he was at a disadvantage in comparison, right? But then he tried to integrate back into the Wraith, but they didn't trust him. They saw him as a, you know, as of a lesser Wraith for what he has been going through. And then he clawed his way back to some kind of a command position, but within a fraction of the Wraith that were not powerful, right? And then in the latest storyline now is, well, they killed the queen and he took over this entire powerful fraction now.
Yeah.
At least in the shadows, but he was in charge. So he was now elevated again to a position of power and influence. And so to me, it makes perfect sense that he is now trying to keep furthering his position within, you know, the Wraith structure.
Yeah.
So to me, it wasn't a surprise because since we have met him, he has only been climbing in terms of his rank. And so, yeah, it makes sense that he would want to take over everything.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that the power relationship.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. Already this kind of Queen episode foreshadowed a little bit of Todd kind of making a...
Well, and the one thing that just occurred to me, it was a throwaway line in this episode, but I kind of knew about the lifespan of a Wraith, but when Todd said, like when he saw his ship explode and he knew exactly what it was, that it was that weapon by that ancient dude, whose name I forget.
Janice.
He said, I saw that happen 10,000 years ago. I know what this is. So he's been alive at least 10,000 years. He has fought the ancients in person, right? And that kind of went, oh, wow, holy crap.
Right.
He's old.
Yeah.
Like, right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so very
that was
wise.
one of those moments.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I never caught on to that. Like I wasn't really thinking about it, but now when you mention it, I'm just like, dang, yeah, I didn't realize like
Yeah, that's true. That's a long time.
I mean, he might have been asleep for the most part, but you know, he was there at the original conflict with the ancients and Atlantis.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just thought, whoa, okay, that is. I mean, it's a throwaway line, but at the same time, when you think about it, it's kind of like, holy crap.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a lot of Wraith trauma to go through.
Yeah,
it's so true.
I
right?
guess.
Wraith
trying to heal his wounds.
Well, my issue lately is that I cannot unsee now the actor that is playing Todd, and I can't unhear his voice. So every time Todd talks, I now hear the androgen.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because that actor's played quite a few roles, right?
Yeah.
He's amazing. Like,
totally.
Yeah, he should get way more like attention and credit for all of that because it's insane. Like everything that he's so good.
Yeah, actually, in general, I feel like for considering it's like a sci-fi, like a sci-fi show, and especially how it started, kind of more in a fringe. There's so much good acting in this show, like when you think about what like a lot of sci-fi shows are like overall, and that's not kind of the focus of it. I'm actually very, very surprised how strong that is in Stargate. Yeah, so Todd had an interesting, and honestly, in terms of reveal, I would say like, okay, so there are some reveals that happen in this. I guess there's Daniel Jackson coming back. There is the fact that Todd was turning on them. And then there were kind of two more big reveals, I think. Maybe if you think there's more, let me know. But I think the next one would be that the disadvantage of the device was that it caused Stargates to blow up. And so I would say Daniel Jackson probably surprised me the most. Then probably the Stargate blowing up, and then I think it was like the least surprising to me that Todd turned on them.
It was expected.
It was more expected.
It was a question of when, not if, for me.
Yeah. I didn't expect it to happen in the way that it happened because of what was happening, if that makes sense, you know?
That's true. That's true. It was kind of like at the timing of it, it wasn't quite, but yeah. So what did you, out of curiosity, what did you think about the disadvantage of the device that it caused Stargates to explode?
Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a hard time. I like it in theory that there's a real horrific consequence to it. And that is why it was abandoned. But because the consequences are so horrific, I don't understand why he didn't just destroy it, erase the research, everything gone, never can be used again. Like, it was there. You just get this device, you plug it in over there, it works. Right? Like, that's what's. I don't know if it is lazy writing or I'm just having too high of an expectation of a show because they're there to entertain, right? But we learn from, I don't remember what they're called, those the ship that comes and takes Shepard to where McKay and Jackson are, those marauders. And she tells him or them that the stargates are blowing up all over the galaxy. Millions of people are dead, more dying every second. And that is such a horrific thought when you think about it. And it was done in such a callous way. It was, again, a throwaway line, and it was never picked up. I mean, I don't know what the rest of the season is like, so maybe there is a consequence. Maybe there is, it has to be dealt with. I don't know. But when you think that, hundreds, maybe thousands of gates blew up, I mean, it's an aqueduct explosion. What that does, that we have seen it numerous times over the lifetime of the show, that it's just insane to throw that in as a plot device, as a oh, oops, and on all those worlds where that happens, those are inhabited worlds. It's not like McKay blowing up a solar system that was lifeless, where, oh yeah, it's an oops and it's bad, but there's no real consequence to anything other than McKay's ego. They literally wiped out hundreds, if not thousands, of civilizations with a plot device. And I'm curious if that actually leads to something, or if that is just a oops, yeah, well, that was the story. Which I would be really disappointed in, I have to say.
Yeah.
Because that is that's horrific.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. And I mean, I guess it's also a question of like, overall, I think in SG-1, I think the ancients were very romanticized. Like, overall, like, I think they were very romanticized as like completely enlightened, like, and knowing everything and kind of could do no wrong. And I think partially in Atlantis they do start to reveal a little bit more. I think that I mean, one, obviously, any civilization, they're not all working together, they're not perfect, there's different ones that are different ways or have different kind of issues and they disagree, just like any culture would. They just happen to be quite advanced. And so, yeah, I mean, I would be interested to see if they mention it, but I wonder if it's more of that, like, it could be just the way that we think what the ancients should do and what they actually, I mean, like, yeah, maybe to us, yeah, you should destroy it. Like, I mean, and for sure, I could imagine SG-1, oh, we should destroy it. That device should never. And I think, doesn't Wolsey order the device completely destroyed at the end?
Yes, but the kidnappers, they got away with the key.
Yeah.
And they're the ones they can probably rebuild it. And now they have the key to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, and I mean, I think, yeah, so maybe there was some element where Janus recognized that, but like looked at it like maybe they had kind of an imperfect view of it, where okay, yeah, I guess it's a necessary evil or something. So I mean, maybe they,
more likely, I think it's like it is hidden, nobody knows about it. In 10,000 years,
yeah.
when they might find it, maybe they have a solution for it, you know.
Ah, true. I mean, I could see that being the case too, as well. I mean, maybe somebody after me could figure out how to not make gates blow up. I mean, who knows? But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I,
yeah, no, it's just, it was very interesting because, again, it wasn't really explored. Again, time constraints and all that. Janice's views on the thing, like Daniel Jackson didn't find a log where, you know, he just read a couple of lines, or, oh, this is, you know, this is really bad. What am I going to do? I want to destroy it, but I can't because it might be our, you know, salvation. You
That
know,
would have been cool,
something.
actually. That actually I would have liked if there was maybe more. Maybe that's the one thing that I felt was a bit missing, but there were so many storylines. I just don't
I
think it
know,
was
right?
possible.
It needed to be a four-parter, really.
Yeah, that it would have been cool, because I think in a lot of like earlier episodes there would have been Daniel Jackson kind of reading the book and learning about it and getting more information before we find out what it is, even. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess too, like, I mean, anything I've ever watched where they have like someone that does like research for something and they get really involved with like whatever it is that they're trying to create, they always have it that they're very attached to that, if that makes
yeah.
sense. And so I kind of perceived it as like they were trying to see if they could fix it, kind of thing, or hope on the hopes that others could fix it. And that just never happened. But yeah, I mean, I guess there is stuff missing there that I didn't really think of. But what did you guys think about the people? Well, what we thought initially were people in the suits, right?
So the
That
fourth twist. This is the fourth twist. Yeah.
yeah. You know, and then it ends up being the
Well,
Asgard.
but
Like I didn't expect that, like at all.
well, I was
No.
just going to ask before you reveal it,
Oh,
what did you think? Who it might be?
I was like thinking, for some reason, I thought it was going to be like some sort of weird thing where it was like clones of the Atlantis team, and they had some like real good
Okay.
reason that they needed to be doing what they were doing and that they weren't actually a danger. Like at first, I thought that it was some sort of clone of someone or something that like,
We had the
or
clone part,
someone
right?
coming from the future or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
That sorry, what?
You had the clone part right, he said, because
Oh.
they're asking.
But I thought that it was going to end up being something that they were revealed that they weren't actually a danger, that there was a reason they needed those two, and that they would reveal to not be like someone that was like a dangerous reason for them to be there or anything like that. Like I thought for some reason I got the
Interesting.
vibe. Yeah,
That's interesting. That's
that they
Because
yeah.
me, I had two vibes, or two guesses, and they were both totally wrong, of course. One, initially I thought my first sort of guess was it's some weird wraith faction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I initially thought, because of the way they moved, the way they talked, the way they acted. Very callous, very to the point, very violent, right? So I thought it was some weird wraith sect or whatnot. Then I went, well, but a couple episodes ago we had this whole Dr. Weir resurgence with the replicators, and there was this line where she went, "Yeah, we've been traveling a long time, trying to, you know, find bodies or whatever it was for our consciousness, and there's lots of extremely advanced civilizations out there you haven't met yet." And then I thought, well, maybe it's one of those.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Furlings. We're meeting some advanced civilizations that has a reason that we can't understand. Then they're gonna disappear. We don't hear about them again, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Sorry, before you continue with that, if I remember correctly, at least where I watched the show, like on Now TV, it does a recap where it has, I don't know if it does it on like when you guys watch it or if it's different on different streaming services, but it does a recap of like what happened before. And one of the recaps was Weir talking about that. And so I kind of wonder if maybe they wanted people to think that
Yeah,
that
maybe.
was what that
I
was.
don't remember. I think that was a recap, but I don't remember what was in it.
Yeah.
I have to say, I would have to check.
Oh, you mean at the
Yeah,
beginning
so
of the episode there was already a
yeah,
recap? Yeah, it does that
yes.
for me no matter what, because they have the voiceover. But I think, like, I honestly thought it was going to be a new race that was introduced, because I truly thought, like, you know, it happened in SG1 that, you know, they had the Goa'uld, and then at some point there was introduced the replicators, and this is a completely new enemy or ally or whatever. And I truly thought that in this situation we would be introduced to something we don't already know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember fully. Like, I think my main thing was what I already told you guys, but I think there was that slight thought in my mind of like, oh, is it just like, you know, another species of something that we have, you know? But I still thought for some reason, like, I didn't realize, even though like it all seems scary and threatening, and you know, McKay and Jackson were being held prisoner, basically, you know, they were kidnapped. For some reason I thought like it was just like a very matter of fact lack of communication, like not being able to communicate, and they just need something done, so they're getting them to get something done. And I didn't think it was gonna turn out to be something so serious. For some reason, I don't know why I thought that, but that's just what initially I thought with that. But dang, then it being the Asgard.
Yeah.
I'm torn about it, I have to say.
Yeah, how do you feel? Like, what were you thinking?
I like it and dislike it. I mean, it depends which how I'm looking at it. Because on the one hand, I really like the idea, because in SG1 we already saw, who was it, Loki, who broke away from the council because he strongly felt something needed to be done and the rules were too restrictive, right? So we already have sort of this precedent of an Asgard going rogue to try and save themselves. So that I like the idea of having this whole sect of Asgard splitting off in a different galaxy, trying to solve the same problem, and fighting the Wraith at the same time, I guess. So there's some lore missing for me, but I like the idea of the Asgards turning from this sort of benevolent, protective status that we know them of, to this, oh, we just need to get stuff done. We don't care about human life. We want to survive. We want to get rid of the Wraith, no matter what. So I thought that could be a really interesting story of plot development in sort of the saga of the Asgard. I like that part of it. Where I'm going, I'm somewhat disappointed with seeing the Asgard there, is, well, we already know the Asgard. We're in a totally different galaxy. We have a totally different power dynamic in that galaxy. Why are we introducing something from, you know, our galaxy into the Pegasus?
Yeah.
You know, why not have something new? This is, I guess it's easier that way. We don't, and if you don't know if the show goes on, that you have time to explore the new thing. If you put an Asgard there, there's, of course, immediate recognition by the fan base. You know what's going on. You understand that they are different, and you understand the intricacies of, when he says, well, how are they doing? You're Asgard in your galaxy, but they're all dead. And he says, yeah, we are not. Right? You know exactly. You don't need 5 minutes of dialogue. It can be one sentence, and everything is clear.
Yeah.
So I understand, but at the same time, I'm going, I want something new.
Yeah.
I want to meet something that might be, out there fighting the Wraith that they haven't encountered, that is not good necessarily, right? That sort of, what would I call it? The Chennai, sort of more like the Chennai. Like they're so focused on the task that it doesn't matter what the fallout is of the task, right? So I felt like the Asgard sort of fell into that role.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the consequences of their actions as long as it really hurts the Wraith. Everything else will be figured out afterwards.
Yeah.
If it was just a different race, race that we haven't met yet. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I could have. I mean, I guess I feel very similar, that it was both cool, like to see Asgard, but also a little bit like, oh, I was kind of hoping it would be like something we didn't know. And I know, like in so far in Atlantis, we got the Wraith we were introduced to, and then the Janai were also kind of new, which was really cool. But then I feel like overall, a lot of the enemies, it's kind of, we had replicators, which they're kind of different, but it's like, even if it's like the same, a different flavor, it's like the same thing. And so I think it would have been really, really cool to have a new, like, especially because the other main kind of villain is Michael, and he's also kind of more on the Wraith. I mean, he is a Wraith, so it's kind of not really different. And so that would have been super cool. I mean, of course, it's cool that it's the Asgard still. I mean, I guess it's kind of in a way similar to Tok'ra when you meet the Tok'ra, and but somehow that whole reveal and the way that was brought up was also a little bit more surprising or different. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it feels like it would have been nice. Yeah, even if it was, the Asgard, but they did some weird cloning experiment, and they weren't quite Asgard. They were Asgard and something else, some weird hybrid of something, right? Yeah. And they're, I don't know, but it just felt like when I go through sort of the main antagonists that we've seen over all the franchises, first it was the Goa'uld, and they seemed so overwhelming in their presence and the threat in season 1. But by season 10, they were inconsequential. They were no longer a threat of any kind to Earth, right? But there were many other things that were introduced along the way. When I think about Atlantis, well, it's the Wraith, and it's more Wraith. Right? I mean, there's nothing else. Even the human replicators weren't, I mean, they were dealt with within like 2 episodes. Yes, they have little flare-ups here and there, but they weren't really a threat in that sense. Like, they were, the way I see it, they were used as a convenient way for the Atlantis expedition to get the ZPMs, to get to full power, so they can do whatever they want in terms of plot without having to worry about, oh, we are not at full capacity, right? So I never really felt like they are of any consequence in the bigger struggle of anything. So it's really just the Wraith, and this would have been an excellent opportunity, even if you don't want to introduce a new storyline that you have to follow, that there's another race out there that is fighting the Wraith, and they are ruthless. They come and they go, they disappear. You cannot find them. They will find you if they want something, but otherwise they're totally invisible. Like, something along those lines would have been refreshing almost, because then there's the opportunity of them, oh, they're going to come back. Are they coming back? Are we going to see them again? Yeah. And with a new, at least, possibility of new lore, of a new something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of torn how I feel about it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, same, totally torn.
Yeah, I'm torn just because I feel like, in a sense, by using the Asgard in that way, it is very surprising. And so in that sense, they accomplished that element of surprise to an audience of people that have been watching it for a while, right? So it's like, maybe that was intention. At the same time, I don't like it because I love the Asgard and I don't like seeing them used in this way.
Yeah, that too.
That just true. Like irks
that's
me.
Why I also think it was really good that they weren't just Asgard. They were,
evil
this
Asgard.
not necessarily evil, but this weird sect. Like, it was almost religious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just occurred to me, but even if you don't want to introduce something new, what would have been really cool, since they have those suits, and the suits adjust themselves to the wearer. That's why the Asgard would wear it, and McKay and Daniel were able to wear it, right?
Yeah.
It would have been so cool when Daniel said, "Why are you hiding in those suits? I can't do anything." Right? If 3 of them next to each other would open the suits, and it was an Asgard, and it was a Wraith, and it was something else. Like, it was a coalition of something.
Yeah, that could have been cool.
Or what if the suits are like a sarcophagus and it's wearing the suit that kind of makes you think differently?
Oh.
But I mean, I'm really curious. I mean, we haven't
Anyway.
seen anything past this episode, but I'm curious if the Asgard come back. I mean, they must,
It's
right?
certainly set up that way. If they come back in the season, who knows?
It would feel so incomplete if everything from these episodes like did impact anything else after. That wouldn't make sense. So I imagine we'll see things coming back up.
Totally.
But
but yeah, so would you say then, now that we've talked about the four, I think they're the four big reveals, which one is the most surprising to you both?
To me, probably the gate side effect.
Okay.
I was expecting that the kidnappers was going to be some kind of a reveal, even though I couldn't quite have guessed it, and I knew it was going to be something I wasn't expecting.
That's true.
Right? The gate thing came out of nowhere. They were talking about some side effect, but that could have been anything.
That's such a good point. That's a good point.
Like I didn't see that coming whatsoever. So
I think for me, I was more surprised about like the reveal of it being the Asgard. For me, it's like in Stargate, it's like there's always some like tragic thing that's happening, right? So it's like for the gate stuff, while I didn't necessarily expect that specific thing to happen, it wasn't really surprising to me, I feel like, compared to everything else. So for me, yeah, I would say maybe the reveal was the most surprising of it all. How about you, Alyssa?
That's tough because I'll probably have to go with Asgard just as my instinct. Like that would be my instinct to say, but I completely agree with you that in terms of like shock, the gate reveal that is particularly the drawback is
well,
I would say it's more surprising for it's more surprising for the show, like in terms of what the show would do, that's more surprising to me. But I would say in terms of me watching it, I was most surprised when it showed the Asgard.
Well, it might be in my case, since I must have missed a line of dialogue when Daniel and McKay were discussing the side effect when he figured it out. But I was totally shocked when the gate started overloading in Atlantis, which also then I didn't make the connection because I just didn't know that happens all over the galaxy. It wasn't just their gate. I thought they were targeted by something. Like Todd had a backup plan to target Atlantis so they can come to their aid or something. I don't know. Right. So when that all clicked into place, then to me that was the reveal. And then it made sense. And then it was shocking that wasn't just their gate. It was a targeted attack. That was just, it's happening everywhere right now. So to me, that was but that might be just my ignorance of, or not being able to understand McKay when he is being shot.
I also like that they brought back what are they called? Like you called them Marauders, but I know they call them Travelers or something.
Yes.
But with the
that was good, yeah.
I like that they bring them back because I know like the one has like this relationship with Shepard. But I actually like the ones they brought in, like the girl and then the other one. They were
Zelenka. The girl
and then Zelenka working with like the 15-year-old was great. Because at first you're like, okay, this is like a prodigy. It's gonna show him up. She's gonna show him up, and then it's like she's also like a whiz, but also pushing things way beyond what Zelenka's comfortable with. So that dynamic was actually really working well for me.
Oh my gosh, I would have loved for that girl to somehow then become like a side character that just works in Atlantis or something.
Yeah, because actually I really like her dynamic with Zelenka, and it was something we kind of haven't really seen before. Because usually like it's either the two scientists arguing or something, and it was like kind of cool that it was like this teenager and
Yeah.
And it kind of gave him like he really like embraced this like a grumpy dad role.
No, that was nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
grumpy dad role.
So overall, I'm curious, like, how do you think this compares in terms of mid-season two-parters, both to other two-parters in Atlantis, as well as ones from SG1, like in terms of vibe and everything? Do you think, like, do you feel like it's pretty similar, or?
I'm trying to think of all the two-parters now. I'm very bad at
Yeah.
this.
I mean, I mean, my memory is, as you know, is not the best for unless like with episode stuff. I mean, to me, it didn't feel any different based off of, you know, I wasn't going into it thinking, oh, this is the mid-season two-parter or whatever, you know. I wasn't even realizing I was in the mid-season, to be honest. Like I was just watching the show. So it wasn't like I went into watching it thinking, like expecting anything. But I do feel like the show regularly has that pattern of having the shows where like extreme things happen and you're left like wondering, you know, how it's going to turn out. And it's something that usually changes the course of the show somewhat. So it didn't feel different if I'm just thinking back now, like to other. Is it always two-parters in the mid-season? Like,
Usually, I don't think they did in the very beginning seasons of Stargate, but at some point it started
okay.
becoming two-parters. I don't know what point that is, actually. I'd be curious. Maybe season 4 and 5, they already had that.
But
Yeah.
You know
no,
what?
didn't they have it earlier, like with like when they were gating onto Apophysis' ship
That was
when
at
we
the end.
first meet.
That was at the end of the first season, right?
That was the end on the mid.
End. But
Ah,
I am corrected because in season 2 they
Right.
already had the Tok'ra two-parter.
Yeah.
But I don't know, did they have one in? I'm gonna check because I'm really curious. Did season 1 of SG1 already have a two-parter? Because I know the Tok'ra was a two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just check episode list. There was 22 episodes. No, this one they didn't, because episode 10 was Thor's Hammer, and then was the Torment of Tantalus, and then Bloodline. So it was all standalone episodes. But season 2 already had Tok'ra part 1 and 2, which was season 11 and 12, which is exactly the mid-season. And season 3 had in the mid-season, it was the Sokar two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think every season after
Mm-hmm.
that for sure had the two-parters in the mid-season. So this is
That's the
something
first
they've
one.
done with regularly. So yeah.
I mean, I guess the one difference would probably be that there's kind of multiple things happening,
Just
you
gonna
know,
say that
within the
too.
episode with the Wraith and then with the evil Asgard. You know, and so there's multiple things happening that I can't remember. With other two-parters, it was very focused on a specific group of people or evil people. You know, like
People.
what?
People.
People?
Evil people.
Oh.
People.
People.
So,
Well, it's interesting because I guess when you think about it, like you're right, because even the previous one was mostly focused on the replicators. The one with Weir was with Weir and the replicators. And then before that, it was the one with O'Neill and again the replicators. And then I can't remember what the season 2 two-parter was, but I'm pretty sure there was also one in season 1 with the Jedi. And then in Stargate, like just looking at like the two that I just mentioned, the Tok'ra, I mean, it was pretty much just the one storyline. They found the Tok'ra. Sam's dad was dying, and they were bringing him there so that they could form the alliance. And in the following one with Sokar, it was very much the only thing was going to where Sokar was to bring back Jacob. So it was like it was very, you're right. Like when you think about it, I guess I wasn't thinking about it when I was watching the episode, but now that you mention it, like there was almost not really much going on in those two-parters overall.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think there was much going on? Oh, and the previous ones, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there was only kind of one thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in this one, it's not even just one thing that a lot of things are tying together. Like there's actually multiple things because the alliance broke apart. Plus, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. But to me, it reminded me a lot of the one from like season 3 because O'Neill and Woolsey kind of teamed up and they were kind of like a weird duo that kind of had almost like an uncanny similar vibe, like of how they argued, but they were never really teamed up together before like that in that way. And so I kind of got a similar vibe from this two-parter with Daniel.
Yeah, that's a good
Well,
point.
it felt less SG1 and more Atlantis as a two-parter, so that for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering because I don't keep track and I don't actually know when it was aired, but what other TV shows were going on around the time of season 5 of Atlantis? Like what was the overall culture in terms of mid-season things, how shows were structured? Those kind of things would also be interesting. But
yeah, that would be interesting to know, to see if they followed that same thing.
I know around that time is when things were starting to get quicker. Like I remember that's also not so late after that were people complaining about Doctor Who being too quick. The season where it was very quick and then they changed after that. So I think overall things were very quick. And also with this, like, you talk
so
about.
was it, sorry, are we in the like sort of the 24 era?
Yeah.
It's shortly
already,
after, I guess.
That's already why I think things are kind of ramped up quite a bit. Okay. That's probably why, like, I mean, if you think about it in the terms of television, at the time, probably some of the negative effects that were there from other things in previous seasons just wouldn't have had as much of an impact. Probably people needed something then, like it blew up every Stargate in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. 2009.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely an era of very intense television.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking. I don't know, I haven't seen any of those. Castle, The Goodbye, 5, Warehouse 13.
Did you say Castle?
Castle, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a detective.
No, I've heard of it. I know what it is. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. I haven't really seen it either. I think I've maybe seen some of the beginning episodes a long time ago.
Well, that Glee, I'm sure you've seen that one.
Yep.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
No, not ever. Oh, The Vampire Diaries. Okay.
I mean, I think there was also a lot of like these like
all around that time.
detective like intense shows like Bones and I mean like Psych, those kind of things were on.
I don't think Psych is intense. Is it? Isn't that funny?
I've never seen it. But, like I remember
it's not intense. No, it's more like Monk.
But the advertisements were, right? Like even with House, like it's the advertisements were very intense. I've never seen the shows, but every time they advertised it, they always advertised these shows. And maybe this is like maybe more what shows are trying to go for. They always had like, this thing is happening and it's like more intense than last week. And that's how always the advertisements were. And so I think like maybe there's some element where shows were trying to do that. I don't know. Like, or at least
definitely
have the vibe that they were doing that. I've never seen most of them, to be honest, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that's interesting because that kind of also explains why when we were talking in past of our podcast episodes, like about how vibes changing, like with like that zombie like episode and everything, and it being kind of like this dark, like cinematography wise, it was different and everything. So it was just kind of interesting to hear like Martin mention like Vampire Diaries was around that time. Okay, that makes sense.
True Blood as well.
Yeah, right. And isn't there one called The Walking Dead too or something?
Yes, The Walking Dead is very good, but I'm not sure if that was.
But I just looked and 24 actually was from 2001 to 2014.
The Walking Dead is 2010, so it's right around the era.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about that this time of everything. It's a little dark. It's a little intense.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of. So I mean, I think that's maybe also. I think that's why in a way, things had to happen in a faster way that maybe it's a little bit unexpected of Stargate, but maybe necessary for this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, been watching, season 1 of SG1 again, and just the tonal shift and the difference in pacing and storytelling is it's just mind-blowing, really. I don't know how else to put it. It is just incredible how different the show is, even just SG1, never mind Atlantis. And I haven't seen Universe yet. I have no idea what's going to happen there. But from season 1 of Atlantis to season 10 on Atlantis, I mean season 1 of SG1 to season 10 of SG1, the whole culture of TV changed.
Yeah.
And we went from TV to HD TV. We went from, what were they called, TiVos to streaming to, all everything changed how people consume media, how it is,
100%,
recorded and relived and everything. The internet came into its being, so you can have all those fan pages and conspiracy theories and what we are doing.
Save drjackson.com, that was the thing. But I can't wait because I'm sort of rewatching Stargate when I like engrave and work and stuff. I have not ever once like really rewatched Atlantis. I've only seen it the one time all the way through, which I barely remember, and I'm really curious to actually kind of put it on as like a rewatching just for like while it's on to see this earlier episodes, because I also think Atlantis, the vibe changed so much between season 1 and 5, and the cast changed so much, and like what they were.
What's interesting, just thinking back now, because right now we are back into those, well, we haven't had any big battles yet, but where we're out in the galaxy and doing stuff, there certainly was a season or two where it was very confined into Atlantis itself. And I think right around the time might have been the writer strike.
True.
And all those things that would impact of what you can do. But yeah, it's just interesting how things change and the reasons why certain things are done because of necessity.
Well, also, someone had commented when we were talking about our last episode that we did, and we were asking if, like if they felt there was like that tonal shift for season 5, I think, and or the half of season 5 that we've watched so far. And they mentioned about there being the different writers. And I says, well, I don't know. Was there different writers? And he was just like, well, yeah, you can see like a whole list of different writers. And so I was just looking up quickly right now. So it says for the 4th and 5th season of Stargate Atlantis, it shifted from creators Brad Wright and Robert C. Cooper to executive producers Joseph Malozzi and Paul Mully. I don't know if does that mean they were writers though, but but anyways,
on each episode you can like go on IMDb or wherever and you can see who wrote the episode. But I don't know how, like, because obviously there must be people that kind of are in charge of the overall. Right.
I would imagine so.
A showrunner. I mean, that's how, I don't know here, but that's how it works with Doctor Who, for example. There's the showrunner that comes up with sort of the entire story arc for the season, but then there's standalone episodes and things that have to tie into each other, and each episode is written by a different writer. I mean, the showrunner might write some episodes, but there's certainly people coming in doing their own thing, but knowing the overall structure so they don't mess up any plans that there are.
Okay, but for example, like the showrunner. So here I just checked this, and here's the Brad Wright co-created the series with Jonathan Glasner and later became the showrunner after Glasner's departure. Okay, with Robert C. Cooper taking over as the showrunner in season 7. So that means that Brad Wright and Jonathan Glasner were the showrunners until season 7 of SG1. And then Robert Cooper and took over season 7. It says that Atlantis, Brad Wright and Robert C. Cooper created the spinoff. and same of Atlantis and Universe. But it doesn't say anything about if the showrunners of Atlantis ever changed. That I'm not sure. Maybe it was always, but it is different than who was the showrunner in the beginning of SG-1, which was Jonathan Glasner, and that changed after season 7.
Is that where Dean Anderson left? Was right around that season, no?
Yeah.
7, 8.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to change it there, because the whole new cast, well, not whole new, but new cast, new, the aura and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I think it was season 9 with the aura were introduced, but I mean, it would be interesting. Maybe someone can tell us in the comments if they have more knowledge about this, if there were different showrunners in Atlantis, or if they know anything about that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we can continue to, because that is a very interesting comment. Yeah, it would be, because I know, of course, like they have different people writing each episode, but generally there's somebody kind of in charge of the main thing. One thing I would love to ask the audience is, what did they find the most surprising in the two-parter? Like, what was their biggest surprise? How do you feel about the fact that the Asgard have come back? And yeah,
those are good questions. I'd be curious to hear other people's thoughts on that.
I did prepare some silly things for us today.
Okay.
Just some silly would you rather that I think kind of have a theme to them.
Okay.
I feel like there's a common theme through all of these. So first question, if you were trapped with an SG member and held hostage by aliens until you could figure something out, who would you choose? It could be anyone from SG-1 or Atlantis. We haven't seen Universe yet, so no one there yet, but SG-1 or Atlantis.
So can I pick 2 and pick one from SG-1 and one from Atlantis?
Sure, that's a great idea. I might do that.
That's cheating.
Well, it wouldn't be like, it would be like separate scenarios. So it wouldn't be like I'd be stuck with both of them. It would be like I would choose either this one from SG-1 or this one from Atlantis.
You can pick one from SG-1 and one from Atlantis.
Okay. So for SG-1, I would choose Carter, because I feel like she would be a smart one to be stuck with, and would potentially be very helpful for getting out of that situation. Atlantis. Oh God. I feel like McKay would just like make me just as anxious as he is. So no, both of us would be freaking out. Ronan would just like want to break everything and break everyone. So, I mean, that could be useful, I guess, right? But at the same time, maybe not. Oh, I don't know. Now I don't know. I thought I knew who I would pick from Atlantis, and now I'm not sure. Well, maybe Zelenka. Or is that his name?
Yeah, Zelenka.
Yeah.
You gotta love Zelenka, yes.
Yeah. So how about you guys?
Martin, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Be my guest. Go. Maybe I'll change my mind.
I would also pick Carter from SG-1 because I think she has this kind of energy and she can figure everything out. It's funny that you mentioned you wouldn't pick McKay because of the anxiety, because that's the only reason I wouldn't pick McKay too.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise he'd be great. Yeah.
I feel like I'm exactly like that.
Yeah.
And like that all we need is 2 people that are also like massively like hypochondriac. Like, because then he would get like low blood sugar or something and I would be freaking out because I feel like I'm gonna pass out, and then it would just be a big mess. We'd just like die in there.
We both just pass out. Yeah.
I think I would pick Ronan because I think like it's a tough one for me between Shepard and Ronan, because I feel like both have this calmness about them. But I feel like in the sense of if I really needed to get through something, like, you know, like let's say we need to just bust through the door, Ronan could do it for me.
True. That's why I almost picked him. But then I thought, well, sometimes that can get him in trouble because he doesn't like listen. Like whenever he's with someone else, he's just like, no, I'm just going to do it. And then he blasts through a wall or something or punches someone out, and he doesn't like think ahead usually. So I don't know.
But that might be useful for escaping.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, my initial picks were Carter and Ronan.
Okay.
Were Carter and Ronan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, there we go.
So
I
we're
don't
the
know.
same.
I mean, I guess it kind of depends where you're stuck
Yeah.
on the situation. I mean,
Ford could
if
be useful. He seems to find ways to suddenly then just find like.
yeah, it might also cut your throat while you're sleeping. It's a bit insane.
Wait, what?
Ford?
Oh no, I didn't mean Ford. I meant Shepard.
Oh, okay. No wonder you were
Sorry,
not there.
wrong name. I was just like, what? Is there something I don't know? Sorry, wrong name. That was my
Okay.
fault.
Whew.
Definitely not Ford. No way.
Okay.
Well, but those are sort of the main characters. But when I widen the net a little bit, then there is the bounty hunter dude in earlier in SG1 that captured them.
Eris or Aerith or something?
The guy where the Goa'uld made them addicted to something so they would behave. I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
And he was very crafty and was always, 3 steps ahead of everybody.
True.
So,
Oh my
and
God,
in
I'm
terms
not
of
even remembering who this is.
in terms of surviving, he would be good.
I mean, Vala would also probably be good too.
Oh yeah. It's just she would also just abandon you if it suited her.
That's a
I mean,
she would get you
know.
out, but she might, like, if it was your ship or something, forget
it. Yeah. Everyone has the benefits of like being stuck with them somewhere, right? Because it's like I feel like it's depending on where you're stuck,
Exactly.
and how they can help.
You're stuck with the Goa'uld. You want Carter or Teal'c. If you're stuck with the Wraith, you want McKay or Ronan. If you're stuck on a random planet somewhere in the galaxy, you probably want Jack.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or Daniel. Maybe you want a Jack and Daniel team, because if you're somewhere where you might need to negotiate your way out of it, you definitely want Daniel. You definitely don't want Ronan in that regard.
Yeah.
Or Taylor. I mean, Taylor would be good in that situation as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they all have their. So next question. This is deciding between 3 things that are already defined, so maybe it's a bit easier. Would you rather be held hostage by Todd, Ball, or Toman?
Toman. Because he's less scary and easier to manipulate to escape.
even if you have to listen to scriptures for like.
Yeah. Well, because at least like you're just listening to that, right? Like you're not being tortured by Ball or like Todd, like is, if you truly think about it, I mean, he's a wraith, he's terrifying. So it's like I'd rather be stuck with someone like Toman. Yeah.
I agree. I'm with you all the way.
Yeah.
See, it's tough for me between Toman and Ball.
Really?
But because I feel like if you were hostage in the right way with Ball, you could convince him to kind of be on your side, and then you could form an alliance with him. But I mean, I guess I'd probably inch over a little bit towards Toman, knowing what Ball did to O'Neill.
Yeah, you just like full on torture mode, so no way.
And the final question, would you rather be held hostage? See the theme. Would you rather be held hostage by a Goa'uld who thinks they're a benevolent god, or by Rodney McKay when he's angry?
Oh. Oh my God.
The thing is,
probably the Goa'uld.
I would be
unless you have food on you.
Oh, true.
Yeah, but we're assuming you don't have food.
Yeah, I know. Then probably the Goa'uld, because if he thinks he's a god and you act like he is a god, you'll be fine.
True.
But Rodney is just a pain in the butt.
See, I can sympathize with Rodney and his hangriness because I get very hangry. Like if I'm hungry and like I'll like kindness leaves the door and I'm just like a vicious beast. So I can sympathize.
Are you related to Vala?
No, she's related to me.
I would pick the Goa'uld 100% because I've been around Vala when she's hangry. I've been around Martin when he's angry.
And just to remind people that your daughter's name is
Yes,
Vala, just so people don't get confused.
Sorry, it occurred to me, yes, that's the name from Stargate. My daughter Vala is also a very, very hangry one, especially after 2 hours of skating or something. And I can tell you, a Goa'uld would be easier to
Yep.
Definitely. I get like that. I understand. You feel like a Goa'uld is taken over your body when that happens. Like if you're the person experiencing it, like it's like all sense of normalcy leaves and it's like you've been taken over.
That's interesting. But it's like you just have to make sure that there's the food everywhere.
Well, it's because I noticed with myself, I reach a limit and it's probably I'm guessing maybe a blood sugar thing level or something. Yeah. It's if I'm just slightly hungry, then fine, whatever. But if it goes on for a while where I need food to be able to think clearly, which I don't typically get to that point because I eat a lot of food. But then that's when that kicks in and it's I've been taken over by a Goa'uld and I just if I'm then cooking something, I'm just leave me be, let me do my thing. Then once I've ate a little bit, then come talk to me. Otherwise, leave me alone.
So it's nice that we have McKay to give some hangry representation in the media, right? Because I think that kind of made him that added a little bit to his character that made him more humanized.
Yeah.
In a way. He's anxious, but he also gets super hangry. And
oh my God. Speaking of humanized, I'm going totally off script here for a second because that was such an amazing moment a couple of episodes ago with Woolsey when Taylor was trying to figure out if she wants to stay or not because of her son.
Yeah.
There was this moment with Woolsey that totally changed how Freya looked at the character, and she now loves the character because he talks about his experience and his ex-wife and how the ex-wife stole his dog. And, and the dog that he loved so much, right? And when Freya heard that, she's now 100% Camp Woolsey. The ex-wife is the biggest evil person in the universe for stealing his beloved dog, and he can do no wrong anymore. It's really funny.
And Freya is your other daughter, just so everyone knows who does not know us personally.
Because there's also a Freya in Stargate.
Oh, well.
Yeah. And if I ever say Taylor that I'm referring to my daughter, I will say that as well. So we all have references we need to explain. But that is funny, and that's totally true. You do kind of look at Woolsey differently, after that,
Yep, I agree, absolutely. And then there's many things about Woolsey that make him more human, I think, in the 5th season. But that was one of the. It's just one line.
Yeah.
Well, I think that also goes back to your comment at the very beginning, how good the acting is in Stargate.
Yeah.
Because what's his name? Picardo? No, I don't know the actor's name. I always get it wrong.
Isn't it Robert Picardo?
Yeah, is it Picardo? I got it right? Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Because if you played that moment wrong, it could have been so bad.
Yeah.
If he were too emotional or not emotional enough, but he just found the balance of, he did it just right, and it was. Obviously it made an impact.
Yeah. For Freya to change her mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the actor. He's great. He's so good. He's awesome. Yeah. But we should put a list in the description of this video of the silly questions, and then it'd be really awesome if any viewers wanted to also answer the silly questions.
Yes, definitely answer, because we want to know who you'd rather be held hostage with, obviously.
Yeah, I think we could get some really amusing answers. So,
and also, if you ask us a silly question in the comments, we will absolutely answer it.
Yes, please do.
Has it
Okay.
to be hostage related though?
What?
The silly question. Do they
It
all
should
have to
be
be
hostage.
hostage related? You had a theme going on. Do we
Yeah.
keep the
Maybe
theme going?
make them hostage related, at least for this one.
Yeah.
Hostage related.